back into that top 4. They're going to be fighting hard, and straight away, no surprise, there's a Fiora ban.
Yeah, exactly. So now we're going to have to question what Elwind is going to go towards, especially if maybe perhaps they keep the Elise open now that split push threat is gone. But then again, Trundle is still available, so they can't really stop them from split pushing. They can just probably stop the snowball in general.
So we see Vladimir following up with the Kench. So we have seen Kench kind of be quite successful throughout this comp. It's always worked well against the Ashe. You're able to just pick up whoever gets hit by that enchanted crystal arrow, get them to safety. But Vladimir, has seen him left up more times than not, I feel.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, actually not, because 56% banned. So statistics say he's banned more times than he's left through.
Well, regardless, we'd expect a little bit more in terms of, we see a 72% on that ban for the Gangplank. So now, of course, the dark horse is going to be Immortal. Or at least INTZ is going into this game not exactly knowing what his playstyle is, what he has been playing. So if you look back to his Turkish league, he's generally speaking, he's been playing quite a bit of control mages. So that might just be his focus. We are unsure, of course, because I'm just not too sure what he's played on this patch.
Well, that's exactly right. Kind of like you said, the Dark Horse will be interesting to see what he goes with and how it facilitates Dark Passage. Maybe in kind of predicting that this Fiora would get banned away from them, they think, hey, we've got to come up with a new strategy. Let's get this mid laner who plays this certain champion pool and win through that. So that could be another win condition, maybe. Yeah,
exactly. And of course, since they don't have caps, that was their primary mid laner. Perhaps this is just another substitute solution. So they're
just put as many band-aids over it until it stops bleeding, Raz.
Yeah, just try and find something working for them. But at the end of the day, they have 3 wins and 1 loss, so they're doing quite well for themselves.
Look, rounding out that band phase will be the Elise, followed by the Gnar, and instantly INTZ pick up the Shen in the top lane.
Yeah, now Shen is great simply because it is a nullifying force. If you want to go up against the split push power that we can expect to see from Dark Passage, then bring yourself some Shen, have that team fighting away, going for you, especially since Cassiopeia is available. So if you have Cassiopeia and Shen, then you should be fairly confident in being able to set up for dragons and barons on top of that. So meanwhile, nullifying a split push from either Trundle or really anything.
Well, it's a smart pickup considering how Dark Passage have won their last 2 games is through split push prowess. So they did hover that Trundle, but it looks like they will be going for more of a standard pick here, getting themselves that Cassiopeia in the mid as well as the Gragas jungle.
Very smart. Now, I definitely would not advise anyone to go up against Shen Cassiopeia. That is too much protection, too much a nullifying force in the top side of the map. And so they just take away the Cassio, have that Gragas on top of that. So that's already a great combination from them. So there really should not be a proper response for INTZ in that mid lane. Cassiopeia usually has a great amount of pressure against most matchups other than poke, perhaps. So Varus is perhaps an option, but then they would be going too heavily towards AD.
Fair enough. Keep in mind that the Talia is still open as well, being a very popular pick throughout this tournament. But Rek'Sai as well, but they don't need to grab themselves a jungler just yet. But we have seen the Nidalee cropping up here and there, as well as, I think, one Graves appearance. Have to see what they go with then. Go with the safe pick of the Rek'Sai, actually picking up the Karma as well. So today it feels like we've seen Karma nearly every game.
Yeah, I mean, it's fairly strong in how you utilize it in teamfights, but at the same time, lane pressure. So one big thing about this one so far is that they have decided to, they picked a proper or better jungle matchup in the 1v1. Rek'Sai can pressure Gragas. Of course, if Gragas can get the hop on Rek'Sai, then he can get enough of a burst damage to then just walk away in general. But if the INTZ can get their lanes shoving in both mid and AD bot lane, then they should be rather happy about that, or at least INTZ should, their jungler Revolta. So the question is, what are they going to pick into Cassio?
That's a good...
Could be Talia. Talia, you don't even have to take, even though it's bad for Talia in terms of just being able to pressure the lane, you should be able to shove out and just walk away.
That's exactly right. And we've seen how well Cassiopeias do when they get that smallest bit of a lead, just being able to constantly threaten that kill pressure. But it looks like they will be going for the Trundle and the Sivir here.
Yeah, so this is great for Dark Passage. They still go towards that split push pressure. It doesn't matter that Fiora is gone. It doesn't matter that Elise is gone. So now Shen has to watch out. He should be still safe under tower, so there's no option, or at least opportunity, for him to get dove, especially since Cassiopeia will be dealing with her own lane, so no 3v1 dive should be happening. Unless, of course, if there's some random occurrence that really gives the team that big of an advantage. But right now, a lot of safe picks. They could even work towards team fighting. Trundle has a lot of a strong ability to just decide to walk towards his team, TP in, and work through a lot of movement speed, a lot of damage coming in from Sivir as well.
INTZ, 10 seconds left on the clock, hovering that Ashe and the Bard. If they do choose to lock in a support here, it will mean that Karma is going to be up in the mid lane. And with 1 second left on the clock, it looks like it might be that. So Karma in the mid, we see Bard and Ashe rounding out the bot lane for this INTZ squad. So.
Okay, perfect. So, as I said, poke is really solid into Cassiopeia, which is why I was wondering about Varus. But, of course, the poke from Karma, and on top of that, the AP damage will be really sufficient. So now they have run the risk of not having much damage on their team at all. Ashe is going to be doing it as long as they get the early lead. So now the onus is on INTZ to pressure early, pressure hard. If Dark Passage start to scale up, you will lose out in every team fight going forward. And they won't even have the ability to split push against Dark Passage. So Dark Passage should be fairly comfortable scaling up and just stalling out.
So they go for their last pick here. Will be that support. Braum still available. Tom Kench being banned away here. We have seen the Janna cropping up a few times earlier today. So that Dark Passage disposal. Looks like they will be going for the Braum. So a little bit of safety here.
Yeah, the male Janna, per se. Able to disengage. Not as cleanly, but then, of course, has the ability to tank out. So this is really solid from Dark Passage. Of course, INTZ with the Ashe and Bard. The double combination in terms of pick and gauge. So really, INTZ, there's no excuse for them to not be able to pressure out this bottom lane. They should have the proper matchup, of course, because they should be able to shove in constantly. But, of course, they have two winning lanes for them. They have Karma winning out in that mid lane, and they have Ashe and Bard constantly shoving in. There's no excuse for that bottom lane to not be dove whenever they feel comfortable with that shove in mid.
Well, you can see the title fight tonight for game number 4. We Elwind taking on Yang, and how can you look past these two guys? They've both been absolute dominant forces in their teams coming into this game. So you can see it will be Shen versus Trundle. I mentioned that Trundle does a good job of nullifying some of the split push that Trundle wants to bring. Yeah,
it's a bit anticlimactic that we hype up Elwind, especially this matchup, Yang versus Elwind. That should be incredible. And then he picks himself a Shen. And he's like, you know what, I'm not even going to take this matchup. I'm just going to Shen ulti to the bottom lane. And, you know, my presence is needed there. But yeah, this is going to be exciting to see how Immortaru goes. He didn't play, of course, during the entire playoffs. His team did not make it there. So this was the first time we'll be seeing him on such a stage.
Cassiopeia, a very intense champion to be bussing out here today. So all eyes are going to be him in that mid lane. You mentioned going to be going up against Karma as well, so it might be a little bit difficult if he's got those first game jitters on the stage. We are jumping into game number 4 of day number 4 of the International Wildcard Qualifiers. INTZ taking on Dark Passage.
Exactly. So, of course, a lot of people are going to be looking at INTZ's composition and saying, well, you got a lot of no damage on your team. But really, it does not matter. There's going to be a lot of damage coming out of them early on in this game. Looks like we've got ourselves a level 1 fight.
Cosmic Binding not going to land. Braum just throwing out Qs. Rogu takes a lot of damage in that one. Should allow INTZ to get in some wards.
Yeah, the last time we saw INTZ do this, get that level 1 advantage, they really were able to snowball from that point forward. Of course, Braum was able to back 1 minute in, so he's going to be able to come with the wave. So no lane advantage will be coming in there.
We'll have to see if Macau and Jockster want to go for that typical double range harass over on the Gromp start. Looks like Ashe actually be taking the Warlord's Bloodlust rather than the Fervor for Battle here.
Yeah, I'm actually more surprised with the Karma take-up on the Thunderlords.
Oh, yeah.
Because Deathfire Touch is really strong on that champion and able to consistently skirmish with that Cassio. If you take a Thunderlord, there's really no opportunity for you to get those procs. You go Q, auto-attack, and you have to wait for another auto-attack to proc it. Meanwhile, Immortaru should just be smacking him with Twin Fangs about 1 billion times. So
INTZ moving up there. Just going to force him off the Gromp. Don't even need to get into the jungle. Just straight river pressure. DP did have the ward down and should just go back to standard lanes.
It looks like even INTZ winning out in this vote. That's their first win, well, at least their second win. Not only the level 1 skirmish, but then the fans' hearts as well.
Jocks are getting a lot of damage down, proccing that Thunderlords very early, easy, as the meep does count.
Yeah,
there's a stack towards that, so Q auto essentially does it.
This is a brutal start for Dark Passage's bottom lane. Because both lanes of INTZ should be winning in bot and mid. I mean, yeah, exactly. So Ashe and Bard, of course, they have the double range advantage in being able to consistently shove up on this matchup.
Mika does take a lot of damage, though. Thanks to Q and both portions of that boomerang blade. So hitting that level 2 first, as Joxer did go get some deep wards to just ensure that the Gragas, because as you said, they want to make sure that the DP bot lane doesn't fall too far behind because they need to scale up into that late game.
Yeah, but that was smart from both teams in the sense that Dark Passage knew that Bard was walking out of the lane to get a ward on that blue buff. But that was just great vision in general. So now Dark Passage have to, they have to respect this. They know that the wards came down on this blue buff.
Kiri wants to fight for this one. Tokka's made his way over, so is Joxer. Rogu only level 1 right now, so level advantage in favor of INTZ, and they also have the members, but Kiri does get the smite off in time, gets himself to safety. Well played.
Yeah, that blue buff was far too low for INTZ. They should not have really damaged it. It was, to be fair, it's not really their choice. They have a lot of AoE, or at least Rek'Sai does, AoE damage that really brought that blue buff down too low. But so that was really good from Kiri. It was really risky that he was choosing to take that fight or just kind of like hope that blue buff would be low enough, because both lanes were collapsing in Karma and that bottom lane.
Joxer's taking a bit of poke. He gets stunned up by the concussive blows, has to throw down the exhaust onto Zeetnot, but we saw Revolta. He was able to steal away the Grong. A little bit of a consolation prize here, but might want to help out this bot lane, because if they fall behind, might not look too good.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a winning lane for them. The fact that they're losing out so early. Joxer is so low in mana means that they're going to have to concede quite a bit in this lane, get themselves shoved in. So Rek'Sai is going to be looking to focus this, hopefully turn the tides.
You can see over in the left side of the map, Kiri looking to brawl, but here comes Revolta for a gank in the bot lane. Hits with the Prey Seeker flash, gets the double knock-up. Zeetnot might be in trouble. There's Mikau flashing on in, but does get exhausted. A beautiful spell shield. Not going to be enough, though, as a beautiful first blood for Mikau.
Really solid. The flash knock-up did quite a lot, of course. Zeetnot did have flash to his name, flashed late. He should have flashed immediately. No reason to hold up on it, other than the fact that he wanted to at least get knocked up first before flashing. Sure. He doesn't want to flash and then get knocked up, and then he just gets slowed repeatedly. So that's very difficult to really ask for Zeetnot to be able to survive on that one. But yeah, that's a great advantage for INTZ to pick out.
Well, that prompts Kiri to go over and steal away the blue buff in the side of INTZ's jungle. So silver linings where he can get them here. Just going to be doing away the Scuttle Crab. And so far, INTZ playing to their win conditions very well, it seems.
Yeah, both are, to be honest. Even though Dark Passage's bottom lane were winning out, because they were able to win out in what was a bad lane matchup for them, they just had great trades. But with that being said, Dark Passage, they're just playing towards topside. They have a topside advantage in the Trundle matchup. And that's just their style. That's their win condition. So even though Dark Passage were doing well in this lane, if they don't swap conditions, if they decide, you know what, if Kiri is not going to be playing towards bottom side for that point forward, then you have to play safely at the end of the day.
And you mentioned Elwin doing a good job in that top lane, previously up 10 CS, but chose to go for the recall, getting himself that early Tiamat. So the split push threat, kicking it into gear at only 6 minutes in the game, and going to be feeling good about getting that Tiamat that early.
Yeah, and it works both ways. INTZ's bottom lane right now did end up getting that BF sword. And though they are level 4, once they do reach level 6, that's going to be exactly when INTZ wants to take pressure there. Now, losing Scuttle Crab, once INTZ took Scuttle Crab there, it's going to be incredibly beneficial. Kiri has to make a decision up until this point. Either he plays towards protecting this bottom side, which he should do, or he plays to look to pressure out Shen entirely.
He's going to find himself a few pink wards for his trouble, but as we can see, the side of INTZ, just look at the pink wards. Before, of course, Kiri took out that one in the river. They had just 3 littered down there, just making sure that the vision control is well and truly in their favor. And it really, like you said, they really want to make sure this bot lane does not get camped by Kirei.
Yeah, so 2 pinks, 1 green. And it's not even so much that they're trying to make sure that Kirei doesn't camp out this bottom lane, since theoretically he should be topside. It's just the bridging force between mid lane and bottom lane right now. Where if Karma chose to walk towards this bottom lane for a dive, she should be fairly confident that she's not going to be noticed, that she's not going to be seen. Perhaps a few green wards along the way, but those pink wards are literally giving her a shadow of safety.
Great denial of vision coming out INTZ, and you can see Revolta making his way down now. No level 6 in the bot lane just yet. Good job by Zeke not to completely clear out that wave. That's just the benefit that Sivir has, and INTZ really want to make that work. They take advantage of positioning of Revolta to maybe get some chip damage down on the mid, but the Rek'Sai is level 6 and Jox are making his way up as well.
They took advantage of the fact that Karma decided to roam out, and the moment she got seen on that ward, she decided to walk right back to the lane, but of course, Kirei's already there, and he zoned her off, so Karma had to walk the long way around to defend her turret. So she got punished for it, and that's something that Dark Passage needs to do consistently this game. If they cannot control the pinks or the vision at all in this side of the river, then consistently Kirei has to be helping out Cassio, so Karma cannot move out of that lane.
Looks like going for another blue buff steal here. Should be donating this one off to Tokka. So Revolta just making this side of the map his and his alone. And once again, the bot lane of Dark Passage getting pushed under tower here. But see on the map, Revolta not looking to dive it just yet. Up in the top, once again, Elwyn just making great use of that Tiamat, keeping Yang under pressure.
So yeah, the bot lane comparisons here are, of course, a BF sword to Ashe versus a double long sword on Sivir. So not only is she going to get shoved in consistently, but she has to be incredibly afraid, because Karma right now is consistently playing towards the river. She's just sitting there. She's not even a mid laner. She's a river mainer. she's literally sat in this mid lane river for so long.
We can see the dive coming in. There's the Shen ulti down. Xeno, he's going to get knocked up. The double knockup comes through. A great ulti onto tower by Jox as Elwind finishes the teleport, but that's a beautiful stun onto the Trundle. 5 members strong in the bot are INTZ. Cassiopeia in the river. Can't get there quick. Kirei forced to use the barrel defensively, and looks like they might want to go for the first brick here, but good wave clear. Forces them back.
Poor response from Dark Passage. They had that ward right stationed there. They saw Karma coming in. They saw Rek'Sai. And then the TP only really was committed the moment the dive started happening, which, of course, TP got nerfed. It's much, much longer now. 1 second more really is that much more impactful. So the moment Trundle was able to join the play, see right here, he only started it now. Right now, Sivir's already dead. Sivir and Braum, they're not going to last long enough. So the moment he touched down, they were already gone. They had enough time to really respond to that dive, but they didn't. And so that's just bad execution, because they had the wards to set up properly and defend that.
So if Dark Passage is one of their win condition is getting this Trundle ahead, why have we been seeing Kirei just playing so heavily to this bottom side of the map?
Well, at the same time, they have a better team fight. Dark Passage has a better team fight as the game goes along.
Sure.
So this bottom lane is actually fairly valuable to Dark Passage.
I love that that's Sandrogu, but not Zeetnot.
Yeah, it's really funny. So even though, let's just say if he decided to play towards topside and Yang gets ganked and Dove, remember, it's a nullifying force simply because Shen can just come back to the tower. It's hard to dive him in general. It's very difficult to dive a Shen. But if he dies, he comes back, and his primary purpose is to dive this bottom lane anyways, and to speed up the process of this game. So INTZ, they'll take that trade. I think Dark Passage, it was a good idea to TP onto this bottom lane for Kirei to be there. He was just late, and the TP was late on top of that. So it was just bad response overall.
Hitting about that 11-minute mark in the game. INTZ getting themselves about 1,000 gold in the lead here, and 3 kills as well. No towers to fall just yet, but a fight coming up in the top. Elwyn pops down the subjugate, forced to use the flash. Red buff not enough to keep him slowed, walks himself to safety.
Yeah, so that was really good from Revolta to be able to alleviate more pressure for Shen here. Now, of course, Trundle, it's very difficult for him to die, especially with flash up. So, of course, he just ulties, gains a lot of resistances and HP, and he just walks away. So he's going to come back to lane. He does have a lot of lifesteal to him since he did get that Vamp Scepter. So it's no biggie for him.
And we can see that Revolta has also picked himself up a Tiamat, so really wants to get that early game damage and aggression down as fast as possible. Donates the blue buff over to Tockers. Immortaru hasn't really made a presence in the game just yet, but has to farm up that tier first, get himself that Morellonomicon built and completed. Or of course on the side of Tockers, he's already finished that Athene's Unholy Grail.
Yeah, exactly. So right now that's just the goal of Dark Passage, kind of play that rocky, rocky training music, because at this point,
montage.
Exactly, because right now that's all they're trying to do. Top lane Trundle is trying to get to his Ravenous Hydra, and mid lane Cassio's just trying to get in the necessary items. She's already 10 CS ahead, so they're just trying to get to a point where their team fighting is going to be ridiculous, and INTZ have no answer to it.
Jox just can't find the stun, and you can tell this bot lane, they are not looking to fight one bit, just focusing on farming out the wave, then backing off after that one. It is the Cloud Drake that spawned first up, which could explain why these teams aren't prioritizing it too heavily, despite having a winning lane in the bot.
Yeah, they should try it anyways.
Yeah.
They have so much, INTZ have so much vision here, so much control in this bottom side that their bottom lane ganks, or at least it did turn into a double kill. They really did get a lot out of it. But they should be able to look for more rewards. And so if it's the Cloud Dragon, at least take it down. So the next dragon, if it's an Infernal or Earth Dragon, then you just get more from this from your vision. There's more of your investment comes out with a lot more.
We'll have to see if INTZ utilize their winning lane to access some of these neutral objectives. Kire just doing a quick sweep of wards, making sure there's nothing around. Immortaru does have his own blue buff now. Going up to the red is Revolta, flanked, of course, by Tockers. Easy steal. And look at that, that just forces Elwyn so far back, and the drive-by of the Rek'Sai from top lane to bot lane. That's just the power and map control that this character gives your team.
Yeah, exactly. Drive-by is the best way to say it. Drives by that mid lane, sees Cassio's, hey, how's it going? With that red buff. This zooms on right by to the bottom lane.
Does get spotted out by a ward once again, really trying to help this INTZ bot lane get themselves ahead, but haven't really seen Kire make too much of an influence on the map. Titan's just going to be slugging backwards and forwards, but no one really endangered there, and a lot of people culminating around this Cloud Dragon. About time.
Right now, Kire was prepping for a dive to counter gank it. Of course, he doesn't realize that they've decided against it and are actually going for this Cloud Dragon. Dark Passage are not going to be feeling too sad about losing that.
Sure.
Next dragon is Earth Dragon, so they're going to be a little bit happy about that.
Enchanted Crystal Arrow goes over the tail. Immortaru knows how close he came to death, so thanking his lucky stars at this stage. See Kire down in this bot lane once again.
Yeah, best thing about that was how close it was. Simply because I talked about how the vision control is allowing Karma to come to this bottom lane, but it's actually the same for Ashe.
Works both ways.
So this the vision control right now is so valuable for INTZ, and Dark Passage breaking it up can really do a lot of harm.
Revolta's still on this bot side, and you can see Kire, he's just been hanging around that tri-bush. They either want to go for a kill or just pressure off and try and get that first brick gold, but Joxes and Mikau doing a great job of utilizing their early advantages to prevent all of that.
Yeah, exactly. So it's the bot lane party. I'm just sitting here.
He's still here, Kire, wasting a lot of time, but might be able to make something happen if he's able to stay stealth but long enough. But it feels like INTZ know. They're pinging it, but they know where the Rek'Sai is as well.
Might even see a dive here, possibly. Nope. Okay. So that was interesting. A lot of mind games happening. I think Gragas was looking to see if there was a counter gank available. He himself was not looking to gank. Was looking for an opportunity because there was so much bot lane focus from this INTZ roster. He must have been surprised when they decided not to do much about it.
I love that magical journey.
Yeah, that's the best. It's almost comparable. Well, at first you thought the Thresh Express was nice.
Yeah, I know.
The Lantern from base, and you're like, this is the dream. But actually, once Bard became an actual champion, that magical journey made it that much more soothing. Supports
might be running into each other here in the river, but Joxes does have that extra movement speed from them. Makes a lot of damage onto Zeetnot. Takes him straight down to half health. Lucky for him, he does have that Warlord's Bloodlust, so he should be able to sustain it back up if Mikau doesn't keep the pressure on. And there's a Tempered Fate. Does get blocked away from the spell shield. Rogu should have no trouble just putting up the wall, jumping to his carry.
Yeah, really good spell shield. He was able to nullify the next set of aggression coming out of INTZ. It should be coming in a little more fierce from INTZ because they really do want to pressure. But Kurei's in here just... especially now that Joxer does not have ulti.
Oh, there's the flash engage. Mikau off to the corner. Good flash. Gets himself to safety. Xehanort does block out the Bard stun. But once again, Dark Passage can't find anything. And surely they got to start utilizing this Trundle soon. That
was a good look. A really great ulti, but a bad execution. That just came down to Kurei and Rogu's experience together. Their communication together. Because... honestly, Braum did not place his ulti properly, and he did not place his Q properly. So they didn't know. He didn't wait for Kurei's ulti to really fully displace to really know where that was going.
You can see Cassio making her way down. This could be a potential fight down in the bot. Both top laners have their teleport and Stand United available, and Mikau and Joxer are low. A lot of damage on the tower. Looks like DP want to go for this one. A nice triple knockup from Revolta. Here comes Shen. Can he get the taunt off? Looks like he was interrupted by the pillar in the top. Can't make his way down. Revolta gets another knockup onto Gragas. He goes down. INTZ back off.
Yeah, they can't really continue to push forward. Ashe and Bard are far too low, and Talkers cannot 1v4. So that was a great look, a great pick. It just came from the fact that Dark Passage were playing far too forward off that one mistake that they made. They thought they couldn't get anything off of it, and they were wrong.
Yang doing some good trades with Elwyn, but every trade is fruitless when a Trundle has Subjugate available. But once again, we can see Revolta inside the enemy jungle waiting for that red buff to respawn. Has the timers down, and as we can see on the map, Kirei nowhere near.
Yeah, so here, of course, they didn't have Gragas ulti. They didn't have Disengage from Rogu because of the previous play. And Kirei is just simply far too low. So they couldn't push to get more off of that, but that one pick from Kirei was all they really wanted.
No, that's exactly right. You saw them layer the CC quite well. Revolta did end up stealing away that red buff in the meantime. So Kirei falling further and further behind, down about 20 CS, and those are jungle minions. So a lot more experience and gold in deficit than it may seem. And Dark Passage, they want to get up to this late game, but they're really struggling to find a way here, Az.
Yeah, I mean, it came down to that one mistake. Here's the thing. Okay, so it's not technically Rogu's fault for that one coordination play, because it is a bit of coordination. If Kirei didn't immediately ulti off of that E, then of course what would have happened was Braum's stun, or at least knockup would have been a thing, and Kirei would have been in a better position to then ulti him into, or at least ulti the target right into his team. So it's just honestly, they should just know each other well enough, but they have no opportunity because, once again, this team is fairly new in the sense that Kirei is only really a temporary...
Ashe ulti comes in onto Kirei, just a deterrent for now. 20 minutes in the game, you can see. About a 2,000 gold lead in favor of INTZ. A lot of that gold is onto Revolta over Kirei, so most of the laners are still even. You can see a CS advantage in Xehanort, but a kill advantage, of course, on the side of Mikau.
Yeah.
So finding the gold when they can. Elwind, maybe just looking for the straight first brick here. Yang trying his best to defend that, but you mentioned the split push Trundle might be starting to come into effect here, Az.
Yeah, but Trundle has to back away. Karma was rotating, and that's something you have to constantly watch out for, especially if you have an amazing matchup for yourself. Karma is able to constantly shove and look out. So that's something that Karma has to watch out. If she can't get anything while she's looking to roam, then Cassiopeia will constantly look to farm up and be a beast. So you just come back to the lane against a stronger and stronger Cassio.
Taka's got himself that straight death cap immediately after the Athene's Unholy Grail, and I feel like both the mid and top lane have just been completely untouched. It's nice and serene there. There's no jungle presence tating it.
Yeah.
It's all just been about that bot lane, and Yang starting to win out on some of these trades. Subjugate goes down just to get Elwyn back up to full health.
And that's the unfair world that's called fighting against the Trundle. you might be able to get a good enough trade to get him to 30 HP, but of course, 30% HP. But then, of course, he has the lifesteal from his Ravenous Hydra, and on top of that, he's just going to ult you. So that's a lot of health lost, or gained for Elwyn.
Yang maybe looking to make an ult in this bot lane here as Revolta. Hanging around. Tokka's making his way down soon, but they would give up that top tower if they so choose, so they have to make it worth it.
Yeah, right now, Elwind, of course, has just been able to chip down that tower time and time again.
Dragon being started here. Kirei stuck on the walls right now, down to about 2,000 health. Should be a free one for INTZ, and they are completely running away from this early game.
Yeah, exactly. So now they got that Earth Dragon. The next one's probably going to be Earth Dragon once again. So double Earth Dragon. Dark Passage have to finally look to respond. They have Abyssal Scepter and that Morella Nomicon on Cassio. She's actually doing really well for herself. So next fight, at the very least, has to be for this next dragon.
No, you're exactly right. And there's nothing that the Cassiopeia, besides laning, has done too well. But like you mentioned, she's got her items. Her tier can probably nearly stacked. And Yang might have to burn the teleport here. Actually just going to cancel the recall instead. Tokka's again looking to make a play on this bot lane. I feel like this Dark Passage squad in the bot, they've just been constantly under fire. Revolta off onto the left. INTZ, they know that that top lane is going to go down soon, so trying to force it in the bot. Here comes Cassio. Only going to find Revolta, though. Gets hit by the Ashe ulti over the wall. He goes down. Joxters takes away that one. Now they're looking for the tower.
Really questionable positioning from Immortoru. And on top of that, Dark Passage right now, Kirei was in the proper position, but then, of course, was a little bit too greedy for that ulti.
The tower race goes in favor of INTZ, and straight away, you can see that Revolta ults up to the top side. This could be bad because he's on his way to help out Yang, but Yang losing out on this 1v1, couldn't even defend it under tower. Elwind just chasing him down, but now the tables have turned. Revolta has came up. It's no longer a 1v1 with no subjugate available. Look who's coming to the party as well. It's Joxers. There is the pillar. Good flash to avoid the taunt.
He's going to get ulti.
Ulti comes on through, does size, but actually hits Revolta. God. This could be bad. Magical Journey's up against the wall. Should be a free Cosmic Binding. Ends up missing it, but that forces Elwind to run the wrong way. Flash knockup from Revolta. They get that top lane kill, but a lot of work taken out Elwind there.
Yeah, of course, finally, Dark Passage. They do get that bottom tower as a response, but the moment Bard ulti actually took down Revolta, I was like, oh, that's questionable. But of course, Joxer's in the fight then. And all he can really do is smack him with meeps. Doesn't have to commit with a Q stun. So a really good rotation there. The Elwind had to get caught in that situation. Sure, he was winning out in that 1v1, but it's not going to be a 1v1 for much longer.
Getting the gold lead to about same thing at the moment. Still about 2,000. INTZ, you can see Joxers. He's been a part of every single kill this squad has gotten. So got to be feeling good about that one. But it's quite easy as Bard. Just chuck a heal if someone's about to get the kill. Maybe throw down a Tempered Fate. I wonder if going through a Magical Journey actually gives you an assist if one of your allies goes through and they pick up the kill.
Ooh, see, now we have to do the research.
We're asking the real questions tonight, Raz.
We're investigative journalists here.
But no, it looks like Macau should have no trouble getting that top lane tower. Xenon actually making his way over. You can see Kirei walking up the lane, but a lot of members from INTZ are here as well. Stun comes through, not going to land onto anyone. Revolta's here, and it feels like we've just swapped the map around.
Yeah, I mean, that's just great from INTZ. That's exactly what they should do, especially since they have that pressure early. They can do this for however long they want. Kirei could possibly look for a cask here.
Doesn't have the flash available, so would only be relying on the momentum gain from Body Slam alone. So Macau relatively safe with both summoner spells available, as well as Joxers has that Tempered Fate. So any aggression could be met.
Ooh.
There's the arrow, does go wide. Immortoru might be in trouble with flashes. It still gets hit anyway. Is he close enough to the tower for the stun? Actually not. Does go for the ult. He gets annihilated by 4 members of INTZ.
He tried to go for a full-length flash to see if he can get out of there. Exactly. Just not even a possibility. He had Ghost. He could have looked to make the trade for both his sums. Didn't want to do it.
Here comes Revolta. No tower for Elwind this time, but they are going to call it quits. He just puts down the frozen domain and hobbles on out of there.
Yeah, so Trundle's going to be safe, but at the same time, he's not really worried about being safe. He just wants that pressure. He just wants to shove him in. So if safe means the team constantly, or at least the enemy team constantly zoning him away from pressuring Shen, and he's not going to be happy about that.
Well, I feel like we've seen this before, where a Trundle gets really, really strong. They're split pushing all game, but the team just falls too far behind to make any utility come from it. So the question is, how far can DP get behind so this Trundle will still be relevant?
Well, that's a good question. They're only 1K behind, not even. Well, that tower changed that gold value, but so it's fairly bad for them. INTZ right now, all they're looking to do is get some vision snowballing, right? Once they got these side towers, all they really can do is shove DP out of their own jungle, get some pinks down. Oh, is that a free mid tower? This would be disastrous.
Look, you said the gold lead isn't that much, but the pressure feels entirely different at the moment. DP, they can't afford to answer any of INTZ's pressure right now, and that's going to get themselves nearly 3,000 gold in the lead. Felt like just as you started your sentence, it was 1,000.
Yeah, and they've decided to go for a weird 1-3-1 with Casio top lane, which is not a thing. Don't do that.
Straight up.
Yeah. So right now they found themselves in the weird situation. So they've lost mid tower. That is the most impactful point.
Yeah.
Top tower, I don't really care. Bot tower, not a fan. Of course, I'd rather have you have that tower. But if you lose it, it's still fine. Dark Passage still have that team fight composition. But you don't want to give them mid tower. Now that they've lost all of their outers, INTZ have full access to these jungles. Especially topside, where Baron is going to be a major factor 28 minutes into the game.
Speaking about major factors, second Mountain Drake also spawning as well. And INTZ with already one under their belt could make great use of that for that early Baron pressure, having that extra damage onto epic monsters. Not something to laugh about when you have two of them.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of funny because INTZ can choose whatever they want, and every option is as valuable as the last. So they're going to go for the safer one, obviously, and just go for that Earth Dragon.
And look at Tokas right now. He's got himself that Void Staff as well. So just going flat ability power here. A little bit of mana regen, of course, off that Athene's Unholy Grail. But will be the Ocean Drake spawning next as they get themselves that second mountain and maybe looking to pressure this bot tower. And Dark Passage, how can they answer this? It seems like everything that INTZ do, like you said, is the right choice. And Dark Passage, they've got to start making some right choices of their own here, Raz.
See, they had an option up until they lost that mid tower. Right now, the fact that INTZ can weave inside and outside of that jungle means far too much. So now it's a constant game of stalling out, hoping that INTZ makes a mistake, and that one mistake is losing control. Doesn't matter if this pink ward can get cleared, because right now they always seem to have a pink with them.
Well, you're definitely right, of course. But unfortunately, that person's on Shen, so unless he teleports in place of the pink ward, or Sand United's in, teleports back to top. But no, he's just pretty much, like you said, nullifying this Trundle, right? The Trundle, he's been doing a great job of pushing the entire game long. He's, up 40 CS, 30 CS or so at the moment, but no advantage has come from this. He's 0-1-0, and Shen 0-4. 0-0-4, so 4 assists on that, so he's been able to make an impact despite getting outlaned here.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a interesting position for Dark Passage now that they actually have to look to contest a Baron shove. And it's good that INTZ got the Dragon first before going towards Dragon, because now that you have double Earth Dragon, that's an extra point to be scared for if you're a Dark Passage fan. Now you got to figure out how to really contest Baron vision. Meanwhile, they could very well easily just sneak it with Ashe, Karma, and Shen. So numbers game is going to be a big question, and how they use Immorturu, because right now, as a Cassiopeia, you are in such a bad position.
At least he's finished up his Seraph's Embrace, so we'll have that going for him, a little bit of extra sustainability, survivability, whilst a lot of ability power on top of that one. Has the Abyssal as well. No boots, of course, as snakes don't wear boots. Just going to be going for that straight movement speed on his passive. No kills, actually, for Dark Passage. They haven't been able to find any opportunities, any signs of weakness. INTZ, they're showing up like we know that they can. So, night and day performance from their losses recent.
Yeah, and they've been a team that, if their decisions haven't been the best, but, you know, their vision control have been fairly good. Probably one of the best, but, ooh.
I feel like that ult hasn't hit once all game.
Yeah, I mean, another thing that haven't been the best are
I know you're going with that one, right? Mikau, he's 2-0-3. We can't criticize him too much, but he is... I know you're going with that one, Raz. Mikau, he's 2-0-3. We can't criticize him too much, but he is... He's 2-0-3. We can't criticize him too much, but he is... He's 2-0-3. We can't criticize him too much, but he is... He's 2-0-3. We can't criticize him too much, but he is... He's 2-0-3. We can't criticize him too much, but he is... He's 2-0-3. We can't criticize him too much, but he is... He's 2-0-3. We can't criticize him too much, but he is... He's 2-0-3. We can't criticize him too much, but he is... He's 2-0-3. We can't criticize him too much, but he is... He's 2-0-3. We can't criticize him too much, but he is... He's 2-0-3. We can't criticize him too much, but he is... He's 2-0-3. We can't criticize him too much, but he is No sniper on that Ash, that's for sure. But
see, but at least the theory has always been solid, right? The theory for this team, even though if they have the execution hasn't been the best, it's always been solid in Elwind.
Pops the subjugate, knocks back Tokas. Here comes Kirei, flashes in to get the knock up Tokas. He may have bitten off more than he can chew. Doesn't matter. Kirei picks up that one. Now 5 members of Dark Passage grouping in the spot lane, but this could be a disaster. The Baron has been started, and like you said, 2 Mountain Dragons, Ash, and the Rek'Sai tank. It is just melting like butter.
Yeah, but they must know that this Baron is happening.
They
have
to.
Oh, wait, they're not actually challenging for this next turret. So they lose the Baron. They must not have expected that.
That's a disaster, to say the least. They get the 1 kill, the 1 tower, but what do they give up for it in return, Raz?
Apparently a lot.
A lot.
They're going to try and take down this mid tower, but that would be asking too much. A fight has to have been started from this.
Mid tower getting lower and lower. They will take it. They do have a large minion presence there, but
we
Revolta making his way around the back. Remember, Tokas is dead, so they don't have the clean 5v5. They are quite strong, but the gold still within reach of Dark Passage. But now that Baron buff should allow INTZ to get all manner of advantages here.
Yeah, exactly. So, sure, they lost Talkers. Talkers is going to come up now. Sure, they lost mid lane, but that's not even a worry. They already got a lot from that.
Yeah.
It's only a 2k deficit for Dark Passage, but it looks like they're going to look for this fight.
Oh, on the hunt onto Macau, but there's the Sand United. Who's in the back line? It's Revolta looking for a Mortaru. He's got no hope of staying alive. Somehow, he's still going a massive Bard ulti, hitting 5 members on each of the Team Kirei. He's going to pop like the big casket he holds in his hands. Revolta comes on through Yang with a beautiful flash taunt. Xenon stunned up by the Bard. It's going terribly for this Dark Passage squad. Elwind and Drogu, they're forced to run. Here comes INTZ barreling down the mid.
Perfect team fight for this team. Dark Passage looked to get that going for them. They tried to get the pick off of Ash. But then they were super intimidated by the fact that Macau had about $1 billion worth of shielding on
Raz,
it.
I think they're just going straight for the win here. Look, Jockers, he's just completely denying any recall potential. I think still 10 seconds left on anyone back. Jockers, he's just going to use a teleport to keep the minions alive. And just like that, the Nexus explodes. And INTZ show up strong.
Yeah, that was a big game for them. That's what they really needed. Very necessary. Every game is a must-win, it must seem, because at this point, they want to penetrate the top 4.
Yep.
They want to get there. They want to be the team going to playoffs, if of course, if they want to get to Worlds as well. They have a lot of expectations on them. This means a lot.
Look, step 1 is making playoffs. Step 2 is making Worlds. You got to take one battle at a time. You can lose a few battles, but you've got to be thinking about winning that war as well. And these guys, they came out strong. They showed that Dark Passage without the Fiora look a little bit lost here. That Trundle, he was so damn strong, but it just didn't work out for them at all.
There was a lot of lost happening for Dark Passage.
Yeah.
I feel it mostly comes down to this. This is a major point. 3 of the 5 members of that team have not played in regular season games with Dark Passage. Rogu, Immortoru, and Kirei are new players. That's what it comes. They have not played, and INTZ have played with this roster for the entire season.
Yeah.
So,
and then some.
Exactly. And so it comes down to experience. A lot of misplay is happening from Dark Passage, but that misplay came down to the fact that they, sure, there might be a few communication errors. I'm not too sure. Look at the shielding from that. They didn't even want to go on top of Ash. She was immortal, if I want to make that pun.
And that Bard ulti completely, I think it hit 4 of the Dark Passage members, which just left Kirei with nowhere to go. Yang, a beautiful flash taunt, gets it onto the Cassiopeia, and you got to commend Jockster. He just pretty much 2v1'd to stop the recalls while the team just went in and KO'd the base.
Yeah, exactly. INTZ have proven to be a much smarter team in terms of just overall gameplay, but at the same time, not even just smart. It's just they're a team that they know each other so well. So that's a major positive for them.
Look, they're definitely showing that they're a force to be reckoned with. Dark Passage were coming off 2 straight victories here that both looked very convincing. One a little bit cheeky, but convincing nonetheless, as they did take down the Nexus. So really showing that they have an answer for some of these specialized teams and what they bring to the table.
Yeah, exactly. So now that we're looking at INTZ's wins and losses, this was definitely a good win from them. They definitely needed it. I don't want to say it, but it's looking likely that they'll make it to playoffs if they continue on down this road. So we'll have to see what they can show in their final set of games. If INTZ can get a good showing, maybe perhaps if it's either 4th place, they're very likely to then go up against the strong Lion Gaming. So it's all up in the air from here, and INTZ showed quite a bit from this game.
Look, and you said they're looking so much stronger and smarter as well, more smart rather. They were playing to their win conditions flawlessly. They knew that they needed to get this bot lane ahead. They needed to shut down any potential of Sivir just controlling the wave. And every single time we looked, there was Revolta in the bot. Kirei was always 5 or 10 seconds too late to jump to the party.
It was not even just him. It was as a whole. Trundle could have TP'd much earlier. Kirei, yeah, sure, he wasn't there a little. It just came down to the fact that they knew exactly what INTZ was going to do, but they didn't know how to stop it. And so the pinks were perfect for INTZ, and they really did take proper control of that river. And so the moment they had that, that means Ashe can go to the mid lane, Karma can go to the bot lane. You know, really just they were next door neighbors. That's what it came down to.
No, I think you're exactly right. They had that river control set up perfectly, and you said the Karma, is free to roam up and down that river, constantly exerting the pressure, but it worked both ways. If Macau had hit some of those Ashe ultis, we may be singing more praise towards him, but the idea was still there. It was just a poor execution.
Yeah, but like it just comes down. It's trial and error at the end of the day. If you have that control, sure. If you miss your Ashe arrow or just the Bard ulti, it doesn't really matter. Try again next time. Short cooldowns, right? So in the end of the day, they had good control. They used their control, and they got the fights that they wanted and nullified that Trundle split push.
Look, we can sing songs of praise for this INTZ squad all day, but we have to take a look at Dark Passage and what went wrong with them. Like, obviously, we can see their wins. It was Fiora going off, but obviously, there's more to this team than just a Fiora. So how can they kind of look back at this game in particular where they didn't get their godlike top laner to go off, that they can take away from it to kind of strategize coming into the future games? Yeah,
well, it comes down to you have to ask Dark Passage management, what are they looking to use this tournament for?
Yeah.
Is this tournament going to be, do they want the win? Do they want to get to Worlds? Is it going to be a short stint? Because I understood the Kirei Cosq pickup to be a quick fix, the best idea, because sure, those players are great together, or at least they're great mechanically, but they're also great together. That's like instant synergy coming off the fact that they worked in the same team and they knew each other well. So that worked well in the sense that you have a lot of synergy coming out of those two players. But if you want a longer-term gain, saying that, you know what, we want to bring Immortoru in, we want to work with him until the next season as a long-term goal, we really want to use this experience well, then that's proper too. It's either pick one or the other, because I do not think that bringing in Immortoru randomly will gain much in terms of their chances in this playoffs.
No, I think you're exactly right. And they were in a great position to make it through the playoffs, sitting on 3-1 after a few really good wins. And then all of a sudden, I don't know, like you said, if they want Immortoru to have a more solid spot in that lineup and not just using Cosq as a band-aid here, but he didn't really get much done on the Cassiopeia, to say the least. He spent a lot of time just building up into those strengths, and in the end, he just couldn't get there, and the Karma pick just seemed to nullify all of that.
Yeah, exactly. And to be fair, about 80% of that, it's not his fault, simply because he has to be stuck mid. He has to be wave clearing. He has to be farming up, because he doesn't know where Karma is. If Karma is going to be sitting in that bush waiting for a cheeky jump on Cassiopeia with a jungler, with Rek'Sai, or if Karma's already 75% towards that bottom lane already. Maybe she's already just waiting to dive. So unless if Cassio had teleport, which is not a good pickup, he had no options, and it just came down to the two players of Elwind and Kirei being the major points to stopping that dive.
Look, and no surprise do we see Revolta on the MVP. 2 kills, 0 deaths, and 8 assists. The thing that impressed me most about this guy was his use of his ultimate. And now, I know it's quite a pretty straightforward ulti, but he would get the dive on bot, help that lane in particular, and straight away be ulting top to make sure this Trundle wasn't allowed to get anything more than he should.
Yeah, exactly. It's a global presence in and of itself. So he knew, like, while Shen is a force that can stop or at least stall Shen split pushing, right? Trundle was actually making quite a bit of gains in towers. And so if that one gank that really did tilt a little bit of that matchup and stop Trundle, stopped him quite a bit, that was a positive for Revolta. So Revolta, amazing setup for that bottom lane dive, amazing setup for in general. The best thing, okay, it might be a small point.
Sure.
But the fact that they took that Cloud Dragon down initially, a lot of teams decided to just forego it entirely, say, hey, it's a Cloud Dragon, walk away from it, let's just go for the dives mid, or go for the dives mid or bot, right? The fact that they took it, said, you know what, it's right here, let's clear it out. The next couple dragons were far more beneficial, and it really did make their composition that much better.
Oh, you're exactly right. They got that double Mountain Drake and were able to completely melt the Baron so easily. They had that kind of bait where the Karma got caught out. All 5 members of DP were, and the bot Shen just kept them there for a while. Then only 3 members of INTZ were able to just completely take that Baron down by force alone.
Yeah, exactly. So that was a great point. I think Dragon, sure, it's a bit of a toss of the dice. You don't know. Maybe it's just going to be 3 Ghost Cloud Dragons, and you're just like, well, this was a bad decision. But they got exactly what they wanted, and it showed. They got a decisive victory.
So what are some of the things, while we got some time here, what are some of the things that Dark Passage could have done to prevent that game just spiraling out of their control? Because, like we said, it seemed like Kirei didn't really know where to be on the map. They didn't get a kill for what seemed like the first 25 minutes in the game.
Oh, I think that's actually a bit of the opposite. I think he knew where he should have been, and he was in that bottom lane a long time. He was sitting in that bush looking for a counter gank consistently, and that was because that was a smart decision for him. I think that there was that one window that Rek'Sai was able to get there, and he wasn't there in position. That was, sure, a bit of a negative. But overall, it just comes down to you have to play the counter gank, or at least the counter dive, perfectly. And I think that it's more so on Elwyn to not TP when they had the ward down. It was mostly towards him. He was in a proper position. In fact, he even got a good gank. Yeah. Didn't work out properly because a bit of a mistiming on Braum Q or Braum. Just mistiming in general from everyone around. So I think overall it's just go back to the drawing board. You know how you failed, and you can get it on for the next game.
Look, and they still have a few very tough opponents up ahead of them, so they definitely have to get back to that drawing board and start making changes immediately, because they were looking a complete different Dark Passage squad, nothing like we saw them in the previous days.
Yeah, exactly. Well, this time they had a scaling composition, a lot more farming that was necessary for them. Sure. If Trundle got into the later on portions of the game, if Trundle actually got a defensive item, if he had that time, if that bottom lane farmed up quite well for themselves, and if Cassio was doing well for herself, like now that was the thing. They really needed to just sit down and play that defensive game, because that's what they really needed to do. Onus was on INTZ to start breaking towers, start making their pressure known. I think the biggest failure from Dark Passage was when Cassiopeia was randomly top lane and they missed out in that mid lane tower. They just gave it away. So sure, you can give up top and bot. You can still contest the camps themselves and look to farm up. But when that mid tower was gone, then you've basically forfeited your entire jungle to an early game pick composition.
Look, and I guess that comes back to why Revolta got that MVP as well, because he was constantly forcing all focus to be on that bot lane. And you said Kirei was setting up for counter dives time and time again, and they were able to do stuff like take the dragon straight under their nose, rotate top, rotate mid, get these towers all on the back of that early pressure that Revolta was able to exert.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it came. It's almost as simple as that. So now, question is, how will INTZ take this game and going forward? Because they've shown different compositions. They've shown that they're willing to take that Cassiopeia, and they've shown that they're willing to take a pick composition. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see.
No, really great stuff coming out of this INTZ squad, and they've like you said, they've shown us a very weak side of their matchups. They've shown us some very strong ones. This definitely one of their more dominating performances, so it's good that now that their back's up against the wall and they know they have to fight into that top 4 to make playoffs, that they really are coming out with these strong strategies.
Exactly. So it's going to be interesting to see. I think holistically for the tournament, for us to see the picks between Ashe, between Cassiopeia, maybe this is just something that they find comfort in.
Look, and of course, we're going to go over to Hingers, who has a winner from INTZ standing by.
Thanks for that, guys. I'm now joined by Macau from the team who just won INTZ there. You've copped a couple of difficult losses in the tournament, but that was a really commanding win. How do you feel after that win?
I feel great because if we lost here, we are basically out of the tournament, and that would basically means all our work, everything that we put here, would just be lost, and that's the best thing.
What was your turnaround between your loss yesterday and your victory today? Like, what did you guys do to kind of get back in the headspace?
We had like a big talk when we got to the hotel, and like we discussed emotional things, like draft things, like everything that we needed to like get back and have a fresh start. We're just starting, and if we win, we can still make it, so don't worry.
Did your plan, did that game go to plan? I mean, it seemed like you were commanding it throughout the entire game. It was a really dominant victory. Was the stuff you talked about last night translated into gameplay today?
Yeah, basically before we were playing kind of scared, so the talk last night was basically we need to be INTZ, we need to pressure early, and that's what we did. Like this comp, if we made a mistake like early, we would be screwed, but we had that confidence that we could pull it off and just dominate the whole game.
All right, so for the rest of the tournament, you've still got a couple of tough games ahead of you. What do you think for the rest of the round robin?
Yeah, I mean, we have a pretty hard matchup tomorrow that's going to be Nox, and they are really good. Yeah. But I'm confident because I need to be confident. We can't lose anymore, and that's what we're going to do.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for chatting to us. That's all from us now. We'll throw it back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks so much, Hingers and INTZ Macau. He's done a great job, and he looks like he deserves a break. And speaking of breaks, we are going to go to a short one. We'll be right back very soon.